It's time.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Sloan Leong. I am the co-founder of the Cartoonist Cooperative. I'm also a cartoonist, full-time writer, illustrator, and I wear a bunch of other hats for work. And these are my co-op members. I'll have you introduce yourselves. Maybe Andrew, do you want to go
Sure,
first?
I'll go first. My name is Andrew Neal. I was in comic retail for 20 years. I owned Chapel Hill Comics in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Sold the store almost 10 years ago now. And I now have a day job and I make comics. I mostly self-publish. I've been published by Ad House Books as well. And I am a member of the co-op because I like being able to lend my life experience advice to lots of young people who are members, even if I haven't been through exactly what they're asking about. Someone who's almost 50 has done more than someone who's 20, 25. So the thing I've gotten out of it the most is just being able to sometimes say, hey, here's a wall, don't run into it. You don't have to.
Totally. Ace?
I'm AC Esguerra, or Ace. I am a comics artist and illustrator. I started out in pretty much doing conventions, and then self-publishing zines, small comics, and then one of the zines I was working on, or shorter comics, became my first graphic novel, 80 Days, which was published by Archaea in 2021. So I've kind of worked with both self-publishing, DIY side of things, and also with mainstream publishing. And that's sort of the experience I'm bringing to the Coop. I call it Coop in my head. I joined because, I want to be part of something that's coming from within comics that is an effort to even the playing field and not wait for publishers to catch up to our needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. This whole organization began last year in September. Me and a couple other cartoonists, Zach Hazard-Valpin, Nero Villagayos O'Reilly, Joan Zara Dark, Ramina Yee, and Aaron Losty. We were talking in our server about how basically the bottleneck to get into mainstream publishing is incredibly tight. And there's, as social media kind of nosedives into uselessness, those avenues to support us as indie cartoonists they're not there anymore. So we need to come up with new ways to reach readers and find ways to support ourselves. And so that is kind of the starting seed for the co-op. We describe ourselves basically as a member-driven organization. So it is free to join. We don't ask for dues. Basically, what we require of you as a full-time member is you will contribute to another member every 6 months. And what we're trying to do is basically, we want to foster an actual community instead of just for a union, you pay dues and you don't really have much to do with your other union members unless you're striking, which is fine. But we need something, I feel a little more personal because as cartoonists, the majority of us are freelancers. And we don't have
isolating.
Yeah, it's very isolating. We don't have a central workplace that we can all congregate at. And we don't have those same employee protections.
And the requirements are really very low level. I've talked to people who are kind of intimidated by the requirements, not understanding how simple they can be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was around as they were talking about setting it up, and it came together remarkably quickly because everyone in the conversation realized as soon as Sloan said something, yeah, we should do that.
Mm.
And there was kind of a bit of running around and figuring out what do we want to do, what is this going to be, and I think that will probably exist for a few years.
Yeah.
As we try things and certain things don't work exactly as we hope, and other things go, oh, that was great, let's go down that path. But I lost my train of thought there. But it's
growing.
simple. It's simple.
Yeah.
I turned in a form that said that I had helped a bunch of people in the feedback section of the Discord, and that I had talked to a retailer group that I'm still a part of and said, hey, you guys might want to order this book. Here's what it is. as a part of promoting a book that had a campaign through the co-op.
Yeah, so like some of the benefits, basically I wanted to set this up right out of the gate with things that will help, benefit our careers. So one of the main things that the co-op offers is campaigns, promotional campaigns for members. And I think we've had 6 so far. And most of these, I think 2 out of the 6 were through mainstream publishers and the rest were indie. And that is basically where we're crowdsourcing your campaign so that we can get your comic out to readers.
And I think everything you will do is going to be creator owned, right? You probably won't have a campaign for a work for hire thing, or is that still up in the air?
It depends.
It depends because, we
want to help anyone.
Yeah, we have a range of like comic artists. There are some who do only self-publishing and have no interest in mainstream publishing. And there are some who, dabble in both.
Right.
So, we don't want to say, oh, you've been published, so you're fine. We're not going to help you. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, because
support for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Because even big publishers will often not promote a comic because they don't want to sink more money into it. So it really depends. We have an application that asks these questions, like giving us context about your comic, what support you've already gotten for it. Like some people have approached us who have already gotten grants to support that. So it's like we have to take a lot of variables into consideration, but it makes it pretty easy to spread, the work of promotion throughout our whole membership, which is right now about 700 members.
Yeah, like some of the campaigns right now are like people will come and be like, hey, can you help me? Like I have this type of like sort of cookbook that's for like, DIY. Like, do you know of any like bookstores in your local area that would be interested?
Yeah.
And that just goes out to all the members who can be like, oh yeah, I have that, anarchist bookstore down the road. I'll ask them,
Yeah,
and
totally.
then you reach places that you wouldn't be able to reach on your own, which is really cool.
Yeah. And some other things that we're trying to do at the co-op is we have a huge comics resource page that covers both like career, craft stuff related to comics, resources to like
pitch your work.
Yeah, pitches, literally anything career or comics related, you can find it on there, or even stuff that has to do with like health, with like getting grants, residencies. Like we're trying to make it a really big like archive of resources, which is kind of scattered around the internet, and just have that there. That's like just a constantly growing place to, find things. And I guess I'll go a little bit into our goals. Like what is this cooperative for? The biggest thing, right now is we're fighting for fairer pay, and page rates, which are notoriously low. They've been, declining in this last several decades. I think they were better like maybe 30 years ago.
I think it's not even that they are not keeping up with inflation. It's that they're literally going down.
Yeah.
So it's a serious issue for people who want to do this. It's the way people are paid limits it to people who have other income, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
So we had that survey.
Oh yes,
there's a survey committee, and
Yes, we had a comics worker survey that ran a couple months ago, and that's something we want to do annually so we can track both the progress and maybe the not progress of what publishers are paying us, and that tracks like page rates, advances, royalties, like net profits, getting really into the nitty gritty of what we're being paid and what we actually need to survive.
Right.
And that's like another thing we want to do is we want to kind of establish like industry standards for contracts, and challenge, of course, unfair, clauses in contracts that we do get. So that's one thing that members talk about all the time in the server is like, oh, is this like
is this normal?
Yeah, is this normal? Like, is this a fair rate? And that is really something you can only get with other cartoonists. Right. And comparing notes, because otherwise, if there's no pay transparency, people are just gonna be like, oh, $10 a page? Cool, I love comics.
At least I have a job.
Yeah, at least I have a job, even though it's like, that $10 has to stretch across a week. Like,
yeah, and it's great because, you'll get people that are like, hey, an editor is interested. Like, what do you guys think? And then the co-op will be like, okay, well, have you checked like when the payouts are? Have you checked your rights? It's great to have like other people tell you like the things that, like you said, like don't run into this wall.
Yeah. Yes.
There may be a wall ahead.
And a lot of questions come up over and over because there are always new people almost by necessity, there are always new people coming in to take these jobs because the
Yes.
people who have taken them in the past can't live off of them and they stop doing it.
Yeah, but then the
So-
people giving the jobs are hoping that they don't realize that
So,
they're
you
not
know,
good
there,
jobs.
there is a lot of discussion of this particular thing of, you know, I've got this offer and what is your advice? And the advice is usually, well, you got to do what you got to do, but that's really not great. But can you do better? We don't know. That's part of why the co-op exists, though, to foster this communication.
And get lots of perspectives.
Get a lot of
Yeah.
perspectives, and you know, the internet's been around for a while now, but there hasn't been a centralized place for people to discuss this. So even with the prominence of the internet, until pretty recently, with this, except in very small groups, it's very much just everybody having to figure this out on their own, and everyone having to trust the publisher that they're talking to, that the deal they're getting is not just fair, but consistent with other people.
Yes.
And this is the co-op, part of the goal. If it's not a stated goal directly, part of it is absolutely communication generally.
Yes.
To say, you know, this is how this publisher is behaving. And it's good to know what you're getting into. I don't think the co-op would ever say you absolutely should not do that, but I do think the co-op wants to say as a unit, hey, here's the information so that you can choose based not on just what they've told you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I appreciate too is that all of this discussion can happen not on a social media platform where, you know, it's hard to keep track of things, first of all. And then things get very quickly taken out of context.
Yes.
Or, you know, if there's clarification, you don't ever see it. So it's nice to be in like, you know, the Discord space or even in like the forum, which is even slower paced, where you can really like, you know, read all the information and see everyone's replies and really think through things.
Yes.
Because that is really good for not making high pressure decisions that might not be good for you as a comics artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also have like a Cartoonist Beware section in our forum website, which is like, you know, you have to be a registered approved member. And that's where cartoonists and, you know, other comics workers, like we have, you know, just comics writers or colorists, or letterers, they can go and share their experience if it was bad and they think they need to warn other workers about it. So that could be talking about a bad experience with a publisher, an editor, an agent, anything to, you know, protect other workers in the field.
Yeah, and I think just generally speaking, more people coming in and very quickly learning the way things are set up is good, because I know that when some people come into comics and learn the way things actually work, it is upsetting to them. It's depressing. Oh, this actually doesn't work the way I imagined it did. But regardless of whether that happens, sometimes it's that information is really important, I think.
Right.
And it just has not been. It's still very common to talk to somebody who does not have a clue that many cartoonists are not making a living off their comics, even if you see them with a prominent publisher's name on it.
Yeah.
I'll tell a really quick anecdote about that, like how I learned before the co-op that was true. Like I said, I used to own a comic book store. I was a comic retailer. And I was somewhat known for selling indie comics, for selling accessible comics to families and kids and like that. I wasn't a superhero store. I was more of a specialty bookstore that sold comics. And I got a call one day from Corey Cassoni, I believe, at Oni Press. He doesn't work there anymore, but his job was, I think, as a retailer liaison. And he told me, hey, Oni has finally worked out a deal with Diamond, the comic distributor. And I think this was maybe 10 or 15 years into them having a contract with them, where Diamond is now going to tell us exactly what stores are buying our books. Up to now, it's been a question of we get one number, we send Diamond that number, we have no idea who's buying the book. I think the reason was that Diamond didn't want publishers going around them to sell directly to retailers. But they were able to work out a deal, and he said, hey, so I'm calling you because I'm calling everybody who's in our top 5% of retailers. And I said, really? I'm in the top 5%. Are you talking just about Scott Pilgrim? Because I sell a hell of a lot of those. You know, I've had Brian in the store, and he's like, no, it's the whole line. And I kind of thought about it, and I thought about the fact that while there were a few individual books from Oni that I sold a lot of, Scott Pilgrim, I know Wet Moon was a big series for my store. I don't remember if The Six Gun was out yet at this time, but that was a big one. So they consistently had, different tiers of successful books with my store. But most Oni publications, I sold 1 to 3 copies of over the entire life of the book. It was not a big, it wasn't that I was selling a ton of all of their books. And there were 2,500 stores at the time. Probably 1,500 of them didn't even order past the front of the catalog with Marvel and DC. And so I did math on that. I was like, wow, a lot of these books are selling maybe 3,000 copies. And that means that these people whose names I know and I think of as professionals and who are professionals are not making a living at this.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I came into that information on my own, because, through many years, right? And it just happened to fall into my lap. And that isn't even what I was being told, right? I had to kind of do some math to figure it out. And I think it's really important that people know this type of thing. Like that the people who are making the things that they love are frequently not well compensated. And that people who want to make them know, hey, this is going to be tough, but we're trying to help get it to where it's not so tough.
Right.
Yeah, it's great to be part of something that demystifies the process of being a comics creator and the realities of it.
Right.
Like from the creator perspective too, it's like, it's also a question of like community and support. Like if you're like, wow, I only sold this many, like I'm a failure. But other people are telling you like, no, that's pretty normal. Most books don't make their advance. Like I didn't know that starting out. And that kind of like set my expectations to be like, oh, like what does success mean to me? It's like, it doesn't have to be a bestseller every time.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is really good to talk to other cartoonists about because then it'll, keep you making cartoons.
Yeah, totally. It like just helps your perspective of like, what are you making comics for? And, what are your expectations around your comics career? And, hopefully we can improve that together. But for now, we're just trying to give a sort of realistic view of what at least our careers and the membership's careers are like now, which is, it's rough out there.
And if it sounds like our job is just managing expectations, I want to say this is a very encouraging group. It's not, it doesn't feel like that. Even if a lot of what we say is, hey, here's the real situation to people who are getting into it. It isn't that we are saying that in a way that makes them stop.
No, we're like, it's more like we're all going through this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's a positive thing.
And I mean, there's fun stuff too. We have memes. We have like
We have
talking
memes.
about just like lifestyle stuff. Like it's a fun place too.
Yeah, we want it to be like, somewhere you can go and like we have lectures, we have
Oh yeah, the group stuff has been great.
Yeah,
sometimes there's the there was recently the like this basically a show and tell over Discord where everybody got online and then like shared their screens one at a time and like shared like some of their favorite panels that they've been working on.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like, oh yeah, you were there.
Yeah, I did one of those.
Yeah,
you did
I
one
was
of
there
those.
too.
I presented a couple of pages of my comic and talked about the process of how I put it together. It was a lot of fun. And people
and
told me that they enjoyed it a lot.
It was so
Yes.
cool to see everybody's work. And once you're out of art school, you might not be able to get that kind of thing as easily, like critique from peers and being able to see lots of different kind of work. So that's just great. And what's nice about these presentations is that it's very just like anybody can suggest them. Any member at any time can be like, hey, I feel like doing a, talk and draw session. And you just set that up and you just hang out.
And there are a significant amount of people in there who are driven to do something. Even if they're not on a committee, even if they were not there when it was founded, even if they just joined a month or two ago, there are people who join and are very enthusiastic. And that kind of keeps things moving in an enthusiastic way. And the fact that you've set it up so that anyone can suggest something is I think kind of an antidote to the fact that many things when they get started just kind of automatically start going down momentum wise.
Right.
But this is a group that since it was started has picked up momentum, I would say.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and it's international too. So
Yes.
there will be people like, what would be a great time for people in Southeast Asia to join on this? And they'll figure that out. So it's very like open and like accepting.
I'm glad.
just-
I'm glad it feels like that. I'm so happy.
We're just praising you, Sloan. This is the
I'm
Praise
like,
Sloan
yay!
channel.
You did well. You did a good job.
Yeah,
Aw,
good job.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm very excited for our events and programming like arm of the co-op. We have like a couple talks coming up. One is about how to put together an anthology with other cartoonists, how to publish it, and then we have other ones about like how to adapt a non-comic into a graphic novel. So those will be really cool. What can we talk about next? And I guess another thing I'll touch on the campaigns again is like, we really also want to spotlight like fringe and marginalized cartoonist work. Just because that's another thing that just hardly ever happens in mainstream publishing. So that's a big part of also how we choose who we feature in our campaigns as well. But I would say like even if you are not approved for a campaign, just because we have to be conservative with like our membership's energy, like the membership is pretty motivated to share your work around. We also have a co-op journal, which is like our little, we have like reviews, features, interviews with cartoonists, and we're always down to like feature new releases from our members as well. So
Yeah, I have not had a campaign through the co-op, but I have had, since I've joined, pretty significant amount of people amplifying what I say online about the work I'm putting out. So it doesn't have to all be formal.
Yeah.
There's not everything that happens as a result of the co-op is not a direct co-op action.
yeah,
There's a lot of there are a lot of
Organic.
people who are just excited to be there, and sometimes it's just a question of they learn about a book they enjoy that they wouldn't have otherwise, and they want to talk about it online.
Right.
And it's nice to see that because social media is almost complete garbage now as far as
Yes.
being able to promote yourself. So the fact that there are people going out of their way to say, hey, here's this comic you should look at is very heartening.
Yeah, I mean, even, publishers, marketing people always say the same thing, that like nothing beats word of mouth.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
There are a lot of mouths in the co-op. So,
Many.
although I should say too that, we're talking about like the good energy and like active members. It's also okay to be a lurker. I will say this because I lurked for like 2 years before we had the like contributing requirement.
Right.
But, going off of what Andrew was saying earlier, it really is like really a chill requirement. Like I drew the little mascots for the website and that was my contribution. Or even like there's a feedback channel where people will like post their pages and be like, hey, can I get some opinions on this? Or like, how should I print this? Like, how do you separate the colors? And if you like just give them your feedback, that counts as contributing.
You're done. That's 6 months right there.
Yeah.
It's sharing your knowledge and just like, just being there for each other. Because like we, and talking about like supporting fringe things and, like publishers have house like styles and like things that they think should be mainstream, and then things fall through the cracks, and we're here for the things that fall through the cracks.
Yeah,
And
totally.
just to kind of be like, to help them with like the things like getting the word out and like advocating for yourself and just communicating, like the things that might be pretty hard to do on your own.
Yeah, totally.
So
And there's even people in the co-op, we all have, besides comic skills, we have all these other skills. Like, I did like I had a campaign for my comic. It was like the guinea pig of like how this campaign system was going to work. And I was like, okay, I kind of want to try like making TikTok videos, but I'd never made those before. And then one of the members is like, oh, I'll take your, I had like an animated trailer
that was
made.
cool.
And I was like, okay, but it looks bad because it's like, formatted like regularly. And they cut it up perfectly for TikTok and added like, sync the music correctly. And it looked really cool and it got a lot of attention. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That was something I probably couldn't do by myself because my little laptop was like, smoking, trying to open like a video editor. So there's just like a bunch of little things that you can contribute. And
Yeah, like you said, things that are not necessarily direct comic skills.
Yeah.
Just the fact that I got started making comics in a serious, consistent way about 6 years ago. And that puts me starting at a lot later than a lot of people in the co-op or in any new cartoonist group. So my peers in some ways are people that are 20, 25 years younger than me. And the fact that I've existed longer and the fact that I've dealt with publishers and distributors from the retailer side mean that sometimes I have something to say. I'm not just lurking like, oh, when can I tell everybody what I know, because I don't want to intrude on situations where it's not necessary. But it's nice to be able to say sometimes, oh, I actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like I have been behind that curtain a couple times and here's what it looked like.
And it's just nice, to think that, it is great when you get publisher support, but you don't always. But, being in a co-op where everyone's sharing their skills and knowledge kind of reminds you like, you have what you need. Like cartoonists have what they need.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it yourself, maybe somebody else can help you out. And that makes it, I don't know, it's kind of like our independent natures and our like really specialized skills kind of make us able to make each other all more powerful.
Yeah,
And like lift
absolutely.
each other up is.
And impressively, it's not caused, a bunch of individual ego conflict.
No.
Yeah.
Which has happened in other groups I've joined of retailers, of creators. You get a bunch of people who basically work for themselves. Sometimes you have issues
Yeah.
with that, but I think really that's down to the way it is run and and what is encouraged there. It could happen, of course, anywhere, but it really hasn't, which I think really does speak to the positivity of the environment.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we're almost about 30 minutes in. I'd be down to take
questions.
Yeah, take questions, or if you have suggestions, pitches. Yes.
So you guys touched on this a little bit. How do you like with an organization so kind of free form and that takes some of the suggestions, how do you keep it focused? How do you keep that energy moving in the right direction?
Monthly meetings.
Yes.
I mean, you could talk more about that.
Yeah.
I was on the steering committee.
Yeah. We have meetings every month. We have a lot of different programs going on. But of course, prioritized right now is like our comic survey, because that is going to kind of be the foundation of like, oh, okay, here's what we're getting paid. We actually need this much to live. And that will be hopefully, the beginning of being able to share this information with other cartoonists, share it with publishers, in like a polite but aggressive way. But yeah,
Please join us at 2:30 in the atrium for the downtown spooky sights and mysteries walking
Ooh,
tour.
spooky.
All are welcome. See you then.
If you leave, we
Bye,
won't
everybody.
judge.
You stay here now. But yeah, so far it's been easy to mobilize our membership to do things. Like they all participated in our survey, or they'll participate in the meetings. So far it's going good.
I think also just the fact that this is still a new organization means that we don't have a full answer to how that's going to work all the way down the line. It is a lot of what is happening before you changed the name of the Discord to the Cartoonist Co-op, and before you officially started it, there was a lot of discussion of here, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this.
Yeah.
And you kind of knocked it down to some very specific things.
Yeah.
But it's already expanding out from that. And I think that there is a lot to be said for, all right, I'm a very loose person. So my thought is like, let's see what happens. But I can say that in this situation because there are people in this organization who are not loose. There are people who are very organized and focused on making sure that things run well, which is part of why I like to be in it, because I don't have to be in charge of anything here.
Yeah.
Like I have too much to do to be in charge of anything else. And I'm thrilled that Sloan and the rest of the steering committee are, because they are very strongly focused on keeping things moving smoothly. And I only use like half of the Discord. Like I've got the personal stuff turned off because I just don't have time to do that too.
Yeah,
So there's a
yeah.
lot of stuff that is not focus just on the comics work. But it doesn't have to intrude on the comics work, because in the channels for the comics work, there's always a consistently, hey, can you move this over there? If somebody starts just talking. And it's never cruel or harsh. It's always just like, hey, we're talking about like work here.
Yeah.
And
Put this where this belongs.
so I would
Well
say
moderated, yeah.
the committee is very observant as far as that goes. Seems like there's always one of y'all around within half an hour to say, hey, move that over there.
Yeah.
And it hasn't gotten to the point where there is a lot of distraction in the wrong place.
Right.
Part of that is learning to use Discord, and
Yes.
that's just takes a little time for some people who jump in on it.
Yeah.
I feel like usually if like an idea comes up organically, if that person proposing it doesn't have a plan already, somebody else will be like, well, how about we set up a thread for that? And then let's see who else can, handle that or has the bandwidth for that.
Yeah, and we have like 7 committees, including steering. So we have a data and survey committee, accessibility committee. We have outreach and welcoming. So we have a lot of things going on, but we have dedicated groups that are focused on those projects. And then us as a steering committee, we try and prioritize the ones that are pushing our goals forward. So as long as we have our goals, then it's a little bit easier to funnel our energy towards those.
And there are going to be some people for whom, no matter what we're doing, it's not going to be focused enough for them or on what they're interested in, or they're going to say, hey, why haven't you done this? Hey, we've been around for not a very long time, and you cannot start building a wall at the top. You've got to there is not a lot of impatience that I've seen being presented, but there are questions that pop up. It's like, why aren't you doing it like these guys? And the reason is, this is where we are, this is who we are, we're going as fast as we can, and it's working pretty well.
Yeah.
Some things you just got to give a little time, or join and talk about what you want us to do.
Yeah. Yeah, do we have any other questions? Yes.
Is this for any type of cartoon, or you got a certain genre that
No, anyone who's making comics.
like gag cartoon?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally welcome. We have a lot of like comic strip artists. Charles Baker, who's here, who does a lot of comic strips.
Mine started as a comic strip.
Yeah, Andrew
It's
does
in book
strips.
form, but these
What
were,
is that?
it's called Meeting Comics. This is my book from Ad House. It collects 6 of my self-published issues that were originally online as single-page gag comics.
Yeah, before we leave, we'll tell you all where to find us upstairs.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you envision your connection to the publishing industry? Would you act as an agent to art directors, or they would contact you to say, we need this?
We've had publishers reach out and wanted to treat the co-op as like a
Talent agent.
as like a talent agency, but we don't want to do that. We don't want to be the middleman for that. We do have a talent database that members can list themselves under our website, and then people can contact them directly. But I don't think it's wise for us as an organization to be handling the money and contracts of our membership in that way.
Every member's career and desires look so different that it would not be.
Yeah.
It would be kind of messy.
Having said that, there is discussion in there of how do I find an agent? This is my type of book. And sometimes people will say, oh, your work is like mine. I can put you in contact with my agent.
Yes.
So there are organic, non-official co-op results to discussion that are not the co-op saying we will be your agent.
Well, I've run a small comic creators group in Lexington for like 20 years now, and I would just describe my role as matchmaker.
Okay.
Mhm.
I would just say, here's a group of people, you decide.
Okay. Yeah.
You can get in real treacherous waters there if you make
Yes.
too focused a recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, I think pretty much we're just going to limit it to, trying to make whatever publishers, indie and big, aware of our talent database. For people that want to work, are available to work, they can go and look there and find cartoonists. But yeah.
And as far as influencing page rates, are you hopeful that with people being enlightened of page rates, that they're just going to not choose to take some jobs?
I mean-
That's gonna have a kind of a grassroots effect on,
Yes.
Creating pressure and awareness is definitely
I mean, yeah, that's basically,
hope.
yeah, I mean, demanding better pay as a group, that is how we're going to be able to move the needle. You know, a lot of people ask us, okay, so are you a union? We are not a union because freelancers are not protected under our Labor Act here in the US. Same with like agricultural workers, Uber drivers, domestic workers, a bunch of other, you know, they're not considered employees, so they do not have employee protections to organize and demand better pay against their employers. So we have to do things a little bit differently, which is like, for example, you'll notice like if you see a couple of gas stations in the area, they're all kind of the same price, right? No one's ever like a whole dollar less, unless it's like Costco or something, but not even then. That is called tacit collusion. And that is something where they're like, oh, we're getting information, just no pressure, but here's some information about what people will pay in this area, and we're all going to charge that much.
And it's a thin line between that and price fixing.
Yes.
You know, and some people might say they're the same.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
mean, yeah, it would depend like how, you know, how nasty a publisher would want to be about that. But, you know, if we're all like, hey, this person, you know, or this publisher has been paying like $300 per page, but most of us are only getting $100 per page. So we kind of all should probably be asking for way, way more and basically holding the line and, you know, demanding that. That is how we're going to improve our working
We
conditions.
also
So.
all have the understanding that everyone has to live. And,
Yeah.
you know, there are no organizational requirements that you don't take a job. You know, it's more just
Yeah,
spread
absolutely.
of information.
Yes.
Oh.
So I was wondering about that, you mentioned, you said that there's international, members, and it seems like there's so many different factors going on with different, people from different places, everything from some countries, you know, having healthcare for their citizens and
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
not. And also, you know, publishing rates would vary tremendously.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, how do you kind of handle international cooperation?
Yeah, I mean, that's the, you know, the standard like outsourcing question. That's what happens is a lot of these big companies will outsource to like the Philippines or
Chile,
South America, yeah, to get, you know, those cheaper rates. To me, it's just they also need to demand the same pay. I don't think there is any difference, even if they're across another border in another country, they should demand the same pay as we get. And yeah, we're also trying to partner with other, you know, organizations that are doing like the same work we're doing. So like there's the Comics Cultural Impact in the UK. That's an organization that just started. There's a bunch in Italy, France, and yeah, we're hoping to like partner up. The European ones are of course quite a bit older, and they have a lot of resources as well. So we're excited to kind of like share our knowledge and yeah.
In terms of like residencies, fellowships, like that, some back in international as well.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. We have like an opportunities thread in like our Discord, and it is like, yeah,
It's always popping.
It's always popping off, yeah.
Yeah, people
Always-
are like,
yeah.
oh, check it out, a residency in Ireland. And then there's like 3 people that are like, wow, I didn't know about this. I'm in
Yeah,
Ireland. And it's like, yeah, no matter where you are, there's probably somebody else there with you.
Yeah, totally. Yes, any other questions? Yeah.
Are there any like big wins for the cooperative?
Big
in the past? Yes.
Big wins.
Anything that you guys can brag about?
So we're just 6 months old. So we're a little bit baby right now.
I mean, the
but-
campaigns are wins.
I think you said something about 2 years, but
There was a
Oh.
forum that became the Cartoonist Co-op Forum. It was a cartoonist group that was not
Yeah.
as organized as it is now.
It was just like a casual like comics pro hangout. And then I was like, okay, I'll just transition this over to the co-op.
I rescind.
Yeah.
It was a good question.
It's a
I
good
mean,
question.
I guess an exciting thing is we're getting benefits now. We're partnering with like,
Access.
yeah, it's very exciting. We're talking to, I forget the name of it. Well, a couple printers, first of all. We're getting discounted stuff from like Line of Action, which is like a pose reference website, from Kness, I believe, and Mixum, which are printers. So you'll get discounts if you're a member. And we have a bunch of other stuff in the pipeline that we're really stoked about. So
Yeah, and
those are
as
cool.
someone who's joined organizations in the past, strictly as a retailer, strictly for their financial discounts,
Mm-hmm.
where I had to pay dues, but they were more than made up for, say, by something like credit card processing. even though this is smaller scale, the fact that you don't have to pay to join to get these discounts makes them really easily achievable if that's your desire for joining the group, is to get cheaper printing, for example.
Yeah.
I think that once that's announced, that's this month, right?
I think we're going to announce it this month.
Going to announce it this month. Once that's announced, that's going to be a big win.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Okay, let's go back to our tables.
Yeah.
Is that a membership fee or is it?
No.
No, it is free to join. We only require you to contribute. Contribute every 6 months to the co-op or a membership in like a voluntary way, like, help on a committee, put together an event, or just give feedback to a cartoonist in the feedback
It
channel.
can be
Like,
very simple.
yeah, super
Very
simple.
simple and very just like the things you already know about.
Yes, absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, the last thing I would say is this is early.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is going to take a while. And I think the important thing is for people who care about this to join now
Yeah.
and
build
help push it in that direction. Because a lot of what we're talking about is a ways down the line. You were asking about influencing pay rates. That type of that's going to take a while if it works, and it's going to take a lot of people participating in doing it. And if I can understand someone saying, well, that's not going to work now, I'm not going to do it. But that's kind of the opposite of the viewpoint of the organization.
Yeah.
The viewpoint organization, I would say, is more, this is going to take some work, but
Isn't it worth trying?
shouldn't we try?
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to cause any harm. I don't think any publisher is going to be like, no co-op people.
Yeah, no.
It's because there are very talented people there who publishers want to hire. This isn't just new creators. There are professional creators. I can think of at least one regular mainstream comic creator who's been in it for quite a while, who shows up and gives advice sometimes.
Yeah.
So this is early days, and different people in different aspects are coming into it. And I think it is going to become something different based on who comes in.
Yes.
And if you want it to be something, join.
Yeah. I got advice from like another, like WGA member, and they're like, don't wait for the union to come to you. You come and you make the union. That is how you make us strong together. Don't just wait until we get all our benefits and we're all like perfectly organized. Like, come help us shape this thing, and the sooner the better we can make a change.
That's what you were just talking about seems to be the challenge in any kind of grassroots.
Yes.
group, is to get the people who are probably very busy
Yes.
to contribute, the ones that are have matriculated to a stable position as a cartoonist, oftentimes don't have the time or energy to do that.
And that's just the fact of it. That's not anything we can really do anything about. If people have time, they do, and if they don't, they don't. And fortunately, a lot more people than it could have been have joined and given a lot of time.
Yeah.
I've been very impressed.
So maybe the sincerity and the lack of all the negatives of social media have made
yeah.
it more attractive to people.
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody in there is a human. There's somebody in there is going to mess up at some point. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
been really nice so far. Yeah.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, we have one more question, then we'll probably have to wrap it up.
Do you have a section of this that is for people who are still students?
There's students and
Oh yeah, there's plenty of students in the co-op as long as you're. The only minimum is they have to be 18. It is not for children, but I'm pretty sure if you look on our resources page,
So not for high school students?
not for high school students. But there is another organization for specifically like younger people and comics. I'm pretty sure it's called Comics. But I'll look right after this and I'll tell you. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
yeah, check cartoonist.coop/resources.
Yes, we have lots of resources there. Oh yeah, here's our website. Go to our website and there's lots there. But yeah, we should probably wrap it up. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Check out the website and yeah.
We're all upstairs as well. I'm
Yes.
at table G1. I've got comics, and I've got a bright yellow tablecloth.
Yes, I'm at 19.
Andrew Neal.
Yes. And Ace is at
I am at 20, right next to Sloan.
Yes.
I've got my books, I've got my zines.
Nice. Yay. Thank you, everybody. Yay.